Hey, it's time for more score study with me, briankrock. So, Happy New Year! Everything is shit. If, like me, recent events have you crippled with depression and anxiety, I strongly recommend you put on some headphones and wallow in the delicious misery of Phoebe Bridgers. Recently, while driving around alone, I put on Phoebe's cover of Merle Haggard's incredible song, If We Make It Through December, and had myself a good cry. No, nothing is okay, but I am grateful for that indecipherable magic of music that gives me that glorious but hard to describe, sad, happy feeling. It feels really nice to have a new artist who can murder me with music. Previously, I got my depression fix from Elliott Smith. Whenever something shitty happened in my life, breakups, deaths, moving, missing home, etc., I could always rely on Elliott to make me feel better by fucking my heart up for an hour or so. Now, I just feel lucky to be able to obsess over the painful music of Phoebe Bridgers. But my analytic mind needs to know what exactly is happening when music punches me in the gut. So in this video, I'm going to explore one single solitary chord that really just does it for me. I want to be upfront by saying that the perception of music is subjective and mysterious. We each have our own unique experience while listening to music, a fact which is so deep and profound that it would be really ridiculous for me to think that I could intellectually understand it. Secondly, the clickbaity title to this video obviously only tells a small portion of the story. So many elements contribute to the sadness of music. Production decisions, the quality of a singer's voice, the content of the lyrics, and so much more. But as I've been listening through Phoebe Bridgers' catalog of music, I keep hearing the same chord again and again and again in virtually every song. And because of its profusion in his music, I have been calling it the Elliott Smith chord. Let me explain.
Part 1. Between the Bars.
You already know who Elliott Smith was, right? So I don't have to do too much explaining. Most of us became familiar with his music in the late 90s when his breakout song Miss Misery was featured on the soundtrack to Good Will Hunting and was subsequently nominated for an Oscar for Best Original Song. Let's give it a listen, and as you listen, try to pinpoint the exact moment in the hook that really just stabs you in the heart. Did you feel it? I bet I can guess exactly where you felt that sad, happy jab. And it was exactly 2/3 of the way through this chord progression on the G major chord that coincides with the word misery. You actually might notice that there's something visibly as well as audibly different about that moment in the sheet music. It is the only note in the entire chord progression that is an accidental or a fresh new note that doesn't fit within its key signature of F major. The chord in question, G major in the key of F major, has a lot of different names depending on who you're talking to. Jazz people might call it the 5 of 5, or classical music theorists might say secondary dominant. For me, neither of those labels is sufficient in this case because, as I'll show you later, they imply a function within the progression that the chord simply does not serve. Singer-songwriters might refer to this as a major 2 chord, and that's closer, but it still doesn't exactly capture the singular magic of the chord in question. It's not just a major 2 chord. It occurs at a specific time in a specific place for maximum effect. Now, I think I first fell in love with this chord when I stumbled across it in a song that I wrote for my band in high school called Fish Swim, Fish Swim, Fish Swim, Fish Swim. Still love that title. I submit to you that it is this chord which, when used sparingly, creates the magic moment of angst in many of Elliott Smith's songs. So I'm going to coin a new name for this chord, the Elliott Smith chord. Wait, it'll probably look like this. Whatever, who cares? He uses this chord so very regularly that, to me, it's almost a trademark of his songwriting style. Check out another great song of his that's also in the key of F, Say Yes.
I'm in love with the world through the eyes of a girl who's still around the morning after.
Oof, what a lyric. This song, like many of Elliott's, has an exceedingly interesting form that deviates from the standard verse, chorus, bridge cliché. Instead, he repeats the mantra-like phrase, the morning after, at the end of each stanza. The Elliott Smith chord, which again occurs 2/3 of the way through each phrase, further highlights this repetition, asking the listener each time it comes up to rethink about what the phrase the morning after means. And each time you reconsider the meaning of those 3 words, you find that they have changed slightly. First, it seems to be referring to the morning after a one-night stand. Then, the hangover that occurs the morning after a night of heavy drinking. And slowly it morphs into a more metaphorical meaning for just being there, being present even during the hard times, being a person that will never leave no matter what. Even just talking about it now is making me tear up. It's so beautiful. Now listen to Angelus, a fan favorite.
I could make you satisfied in everything you do. All your secret wishes could right now be coming true, and be forever with my poison arms around you.
Now this one is a little more complex and all the more exciting for that fact. Angelus is in the key of E minor, a fact which is made obvious both by the fact that it begins with a high E pedal point and that the first chord of each chorus is E minor. The first chord in the verse segment, however, is A minor, which moves to D7 and feels to our ears like it should resolve naturally in a 2-5 progression to G major, the relative major of E minor. Now, in relation to G major, the Elliott Smith chord in this case is A major, which occurs on the 11th bar of the progression, a chord which further sticks out because Elliott has been continually emphasizing A minor. The chord has a brilliant effect in combination with the lyrics. The first 2 lines are from the perspective of a record executive who, with a fake smile, lies through his teeth, tempting the artist.
I can make you satisfied in everything you do. All your secret wishes could right now be coming true.
Then the 3rd line ushers in a stark change in tone as the evil executive reveals his true hidden intentions.
And be forever with my poison arms around you.
Notice how the words poison arms linger over the Elliott Smith chord, further emphasizing the change in tone musically. What a great song. You can listen to Elliott's oeuvre, yes, again I say oeuvre, and you'll find tons of examples of the Elliott Smith chord, but I can't move on without showing you my personal favorite Elliott Smith song, Ballad of Big Nothing. I just love playing the guitar part. It is so Elliott Smith. Strange tuning, awkward left-hand motion, virtuosic right-hand picking. Elliott Smith is so similar to the great Brazilian master songwriters like João Gilberto or Toninho Horta in that he can play a rhythmically complex guitar part with great time and simultaneously phrase loosely and gracefully with his vocals. It truly boggles my mind how he can do that.
Now you can do what you want to whenever you want to. You can do what you want to, there's
Okay, so obviously this song is chock full of ESCs, but what was I saying? But the most prominent example occurs near the end of the song, right when Elliott says, "But it doesn't mean a thing." See, on its surface, this song seems like a celebration of freedom from cultural norms. Do what you want to, whenever you want to. Do what you want to, whenever you want to. But it's at the end of the song that Elliott reveals the obvious. Not giving a shit about anything results in a sad, meaningless life. And every time I feel that seismic shift to D major in the context of this C major rock anthem, at least by Elliott Smith standards, I feel a pit in my stomach. This is the effect of the Elliott Smith chord, an effect which I believe was studied closely by Phoebe Bridgers and which she puts to good use in a ton of her work.
Part 2. I See You, Major 2.
Let me back up a little bit. Why do they call it a secondary dominant or 5 of 5 anyways? Well, secondary dominant is a very literal name. If you're in the key of, say, C major, the dominant chord is the fifth. A fifth higher than C is G. To find the 5 of the 5 chord, you simply go up another fifth from G to D. It's truly as simple as that. Ballad of Big Nothing is, in many ways, a precursor to Phoebe Bridgers' hit song from last year, Kyoto. They're both up-tempo and upbeat rock songs, but they have a profoundly sad message. Both songs use modal mixture quite a bit, which is another very sad and common device between their music, but it's a topic for a whole nother video. In this key, just know that it's a minor 4 chord instead of or directly after a major 4 chord. And another commonality between Kyoto and Ballad of Big Nothing is that they both use the Elliott Smith chord judiciously. Remember that a big part of the successful heartachy effect of this chord is to withhold it and only use it sparingly. So let's listen to Kyoto and again, see if you can pinpoint or calibrate the exact moment that the song really just fucks you up.
I wanted to see the world, then I flew over the ocean, and I changed my mind.
This song is in so many ways just like Elliott Smith's Angelus, where a major turning point in the lyrics is accompanied by a fresh new note that doesn't fit in the key signature. Kyoto is in B major, and just like the A minor chord in Angelus, Bridgers emphasizes the C sharp minor chord, or the 2 minor, as the first chord in the chorus. The lyrics make a proposition. I wanted to see the world. Then I flew over the ocean. Disappointed by what she finds overseas, Phoebe says, and I changed my mind. She emphasizes that moment in the song, first by holding out the word mind for 3 whole measures, and by, you guessed it, using the Elliott Smith chord, the secondary dominant, the 5 of 5, the major 2, the C sharp major chord. Clearly, this woman has studied her Elliott Smith, but also I think there's another influence here. In a video produced by the New York Times, Phoebe's showing the chord progression and she lingers on the Elliott Smith chord and says,
"That's very Tony too, to throw this in there."
in reference to producer Tony Berg, who incidentally is the brother of my fiance's godfather. What a small world. But if you look back at her catalog, it isn't just Tony Berg's influence. She's been using the Elliott Smith chord since the very, very beginning. Listen to a great song called Killer from her first EP, which she made in 2015. Also take notice of how similar this chorus sounds to the chorus of Kyoto.
I am sick of the chase, but I'm hungry for blood.
You'll definitely notice that this example is slightly different than the rest, because this time, when Phoebe says she's hungry for blood, she plays the first inversion of the secondary dominant chord. That means that the new, fresh note The F sharp in the key of C major, the only accidental in the entire progression, is played in the bass. Okay, as is my wont, this video is getting long, so let's just blast through a couple more examples from Phoebe's music. The bridge of I See You is straight out of the Elliott Smith playbook.
I used to like you.
The Elliott Smith chord, in this case it's an E7 in the key of D, occurs only once. It's a great example of just using this chord sparsely, just sprinkle it in there. It'll make a big impact on the song. It happens right when Phoebe says, I used to light you up. This is expert level songwriting shit, in my opinion. You withhold the sound. Don't let it become mundane, because that would negate its devastating effect. And finally, just because it's my favorite of her songs, let's listen to Savior Complex. And if you want to hear something outrageously beautiful, I would highly recommend checking out the string arrangement version, which was done by Rob Moose of Y Music. Again, as you listen, really hone in on the effect that this Elliott Smith chord has physically on your body. For me, it really fucking hurts.
Baby, you're a vampire. You want blood, and I promise I'm a bad lie with a savior complex.
And that right there, when she sings Complex, that was the moment for me when I made the connection to Elliott Smith. It just sounds so much like something he would say in a song, and the way that he would sing it, and the use of that chord underneath it. It's just, it all screams Elliott Smith.
Part 3. Harmony Condensed.
So far on this channel, I have covered some of the most outwardly complex music that I'm even aware of, really. Jazz and classical musicians often scoff at pop music as overly simple, trite lollipops of musical candy that don't give you any dietary value. Now, don't get me wrong here, much of pop music is absolute garbage, but the same can be said for every genre of music. There is just so much nauseatingly trite jazz, and there are so many insipid and lifeless classical compositions. I want this to be a big takeaway of this video. The aesthetic trappings of a person's musical expressions have very little to do with the content of the music. Humans simply need to categorize music into genres as a way to simplify a world of music that is just insanely broad and complex and chaotic. So to me, it's understandable if somebody might hear, say, a trap beat and say, I don't like this, or conversely hear dense, dissonant counterpoint and say, I don't like this, if they're unfamiliar with that world of music. However, and you gotta trust me on this, the problem is not in the music, it's in your obsession with familiarity. I promise you that if you practice exposing your ears to unfamiliar sounds on a regular basis, you will grow as a musician. And if you're not a musician, you'll grow as a listener.
You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
I've been slowly working my way through W.A. Matthews' incredible book, The Harmonic Experience. And amongst other things, it has completely reinvigorated my sense of awe at the incredible magic of the simplest fundamentals of music. I just highly recommend this book, and I plan on doing a whole video about it at some point. In the book, Matthew says, most of the music you have ever heard or will hear is essentially perfect fifths and major thirds, and the wonder of that never goes away. To explicate what he means by this, he talks about the power of the number 3 in music. I can already feel you tuning out, and don't click away, please. I know that I go on and on in this channel about the number 3 and its implications in various phenomena in the world of music, but it really has especially mind-blowing implications for the Elliott Smith chord, and I believe it partially illuminates the beautiful mystery behind this sound. Every single pitch contains within it a framework of mostly inaudible higher frequencies called the harmonic series. Now, as you climb the pitches in the harmonic series, you first encounter the octave, which has a frequency twice that of its fundamental. If you continue in this manner, multiplying the fundamental by the powers of 2, you will continue to see octave after octave after higher octave. Presumably, human beings first sang in octaves or unison because they vibrate so strongly together. If you ascend then to the third pitch in the harmonic series, you will find a fifth, the strongest interval in music after the octave, and a commonality between musical cultures across time and across the world. Now, if you continue multiplying the fundamental by the powers of 3 rather than the powers of 2, you will ascend what we call the cycle of fifths. Doing so, you're going to find 12 distinct pitches before you return to the fundamental. Thus, the power of 3 reveals all of the notes in the current Western musical system. From one pitch, we derive an entire universe of musical color. And tripling in this manner was exactly the concept that Pythagoras used to generate his profoundly influential harmonic system all the way back in the 5th century BCE. Okay, now here's where the number 3 just blooms in all these unexpected places. And I hope I can convey to you just how exciting this is to me. If you ascend to the third new pitch in the harmonic series, you will find a major third. This one note sounded together with the fundamental and the perfect fifth, 3 pitches, creates a major triad. We call it a triad because it has 3 notes.
3, 3, 3.
In a certain sense, you can say that major triads are then inherent in every single pitch that we hear because they are powerfully present in the harmonic series. Now, if you extrapolate major triads out of the fundamental and the fifth, you've just unlocked like 90% of Western harmony. A major triad from the 5th scale degree feels like it must inexorably resolve to a major triad from the fundamental. It's only logical then to take this another step further. So if our fundamental note is C, for example, and the 5th of that is G, the 5th of the 5th is D, of course. And if you extrapolate that D into a major triad, you will find its major third is in F sharp. You might recognize at this moment that this chord is the Elliott Smith chord. What's wild about this to me is that F sharp is the furthest pitch away from the fundamental C if you ascend the cycle of fifths. We say that a C and an F sharp are a tritone apart, and in different eras and in different cultures, this relationship has different significances. But in the hands of Phoebe Bridgers or Elliott Smith or a wide variety of other profoundly sad singer-songwriters from the past 2 centuries, the tritone produces a sound of cathartic melancholy, what I have been referring to as the Elliott Smith chord. This one foreign pitch in the context of tonal pop music has the capability of bringing me, a grown adult man, to tears. Now, my friend Marty Kenny, the great bass player in Big Heart Machine and my quartet, brought to my attention the fact that there have actually been rigorous studies done which show that sad music actually makes human beings feel a sense of calm, peacefulness, happiness. Additionally, human beings have been pondering this mystery for forever. In the 3rd century BCE, Aristotle hypothesized in his philosophical treatise, The Poetics, that the purpose of tragedy in dramatic works was to arouse terror and pity, and thus to effect catharsis, or the purification or purgation of emotions for the audience. So I know this has been a lot. I intended to make a short, simple, accessible video, And as is my tendency, I got carried away. But the moral is this. Thank you, Phoebe Bridgers, for the catharsis. I have been really needing it right now, and I'm sure a lot of you do too. I wish each and every one of you viewers who have made it this far the absolute best. If you can, please take some time for self-care in this incredibly rough period in our history. Put on some headphones, listen to some really sad music, and just cry it the fuck out. You will feel better, I promise. Thanks also, as usual, to my patrons who make these videos possible for me to produce. Please consider checking out my Patreon page and supporting this channel. There's a lot of goodies there for you. Musicians will find exercises and scores to check out. Fans of my music are going to find unreleased tracks, alternate takes, demos, and stuff like that. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your support. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming very soon on the channel that I cannot wait to share.